Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into some great topics pertaining to anxiety, NoFap, the absence of pornography and masturbation. And then we're diving into hopelessness, we're diving into supplements, we're diving into diet for anxiety. So a lot of topics today. I got like 6 questions, but knowing my mind, it's going to take longer because I wanted it to be a rapid fire round today, but knowing my mind, I'm going to really dive into these questions in great detail and length. But let's start with the first one from Jordan Benson. He says, what can I do today to lessen anxiety? What can I do today? And, today's the day where you start and you look at your anxiety as this battle between you and yourself. And anxiety is a sign that the things in your life aren't working right and that there's something that you haven't attended to. Usually many things. And a lot of people who come to me for coaching, they have many things that are so beyond them that they're grappling with. They can't really seem to get a hold of them. And so they come to me because they have to sort every little thing out in their life. And they're not so little. That's the other thing too. Like in their mind, it's like this little entity floating around. But when you put it onto paper or when you say it, there's more complexity there. And it turns out that it turns into a spider's web of complexity. So first thing, I recommend that you write down the things in your mind because you will realize that there is a long list in there of to-dos maybe or problems that you haven't solved. Lots of things. So when you write them down, you actually shrink that problem down. It's like in Harry Potter when people refuse to say the word Voldemort, the name Voldemort. And it's interesting because when you don't say it and you ignore the existence of it, and then when you're naive and you're not paying enough attention, Voldemort will come up and take a bite out of you. That's what happens in our own lives. If we don't attend to the thing that we know needs attending, it'll grow in size, and then time passes, and the more time passes, the more the deadline shrinks, or it's just the consequences grow in size, and then later when you don't expect it, it'll come and bite you, and then who do you blame but your own self for not attending to it when you knew you should have? But you didn't attend to it because the mind, that's the thing about the mind, it doesn't want to attend to things that are difficult and painful, so it tends to push it aside. And your mind is not looking out for you. That's another thing. It doesn't have your best interest in mind. So when you are watching TV or playing video games and then it comes up and bites you, it's like, oh no, how do I trace this back and where did I steer myself? And what point in my life did I steer myself so that I wound up to be in this situation? And yeah, that's the situation I wound up in when I was struggling from anxiety. So much of my life just got beyond me. I couldn't figure it all out. So I needed to start a program. I needed a mentor. I needed to really put things in perspective, and writing things down really does that. And then I recommend that you clean up a small section of your house. And this is really interesting because when I'm floundering and I don't know what to do, and well, the day is dragging on and I'm getting more anxious, what happens is I pick a part of my place. It could be laundry, it could be dishes, it could be dusting, it could be papers, it could be a drawer full of stuff, it could be vacuuming. You pick a thing and you start to do it. And what happens when you finish it is like you get this little dopamine kick, and it actually motivates you to start something else. And it's this snowball effect of accomplishment. So you need to start accomplishing goals, and that's why these small tasks are super important. Is it'll actually motivate you in the long run to tackle more harder and harder things the more you tackle the smaller things. The smaller things are so important. I don't like saying that they're small, but they are. But in the bigger scheme of things, they're huge things, because every little step leads you into that person you really want to become. You want to become the independent, anxious-free, more neutral in your emotions, stronger mentally and physically kind of person. Well, how do you get there? It's one repetition at a time. It's going to that gym for the first time. It's just going for that run for the first time, or doing that cold shower for the first time. It always starts with that first step. And the more you can get those wins in, the more it'll motivate you, perhaps tomorrow, to tackle more. And you want to see yourself progressing in some way, because that's going to lead you to positive emotion. And then I recommend that you be with yourself for at least 10 minutes a day. Be with yourself, because your emotions are there. And if we repress these emotions, they will come out in very unhealthy ways. They will be projected onto your partner or your family or your coworkers if you don't attend to them. If you're not certain about your job, you have to sit with yourself about those thoughts and think about them, and also talk to somebody about these things too. That's very useful. And sometimes family is not good enough. Getting a coach, somebody who has enough strategies under their belt to actually help you develop your own strategies and help you sort through the chaotic muck, because your family could be just comforting you, and that's fine for the time being, but it's not going to help you in the long run. So definitely talking about these things will help, but you have to sit with yourself, you have to talk things through, and you have to build a plan around each and every problem that is plaguing you. Thanks for the question, Jordan. Next question comes in from Lorraine. She says, any recommended supplements for anxiety? I don't have many supplements to recommend, Lorraine. I myself take a few vitamins. I take electrolyte drops like Keto Chow. I'm not a sponsor, but I love them. They have sodium, magnesium, potassium in the drops, so you can put them in water, you can put them in your coffee or tea. They're great because you need those minerals, because anxiety depletes minerals. So imagine your body is revved up 24/7 and your body's burning all of these internal resources, especially your minerals. So getting your minerals in will help your body and your mind, definitely. I also recommend magnesium, like Calm, right? That helps you sleep better, right? And your heart needs that, right? Your body needs it. It helps relax the body. I recommend you take magnesium at night because it does make you a little bit tired, and that's good. Then I recommend vitamin D and K2 together, because both of them together helps the absorption of calcium within the body. But we need vitamin D, especially when you're living up here in Canada. There's no sun half the year, so you need your vitamins, man. And I take a lot of vitamin D. I take about at least 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. So that's it. That's all I have to say, Lorraine. Thank you for the question. Next one comes in from Claude. What foods can worsen anxiety? Good question. Sugar, number one, I would say. I've noticed that when I cut sugar out of my diet completely, it had this tremendous effect, because I was doing meditation, I was doing exercise, I was, spending time with myself, journaling and cold showers and all of that. That was all helpful, but the icing on the cake, things didn't really change for the better until I cut sugar cold turkey. And then the inflammation in my body went away, which was amazing. I could breathe better. I noticed I would have trouble doing tasks. And I noticed it was more strenuous, I think is the word, on my body. But when I cut sugar out, I noticed that the inflammation, I just felt better. My joints felt better, less aches and pains throughout the body. They went away. But also, it's not just the sugar that helped with that. It's the flours, the gluten. And everyone is allergic to gluten. That's the thing. Everyone has a tolerance to that. But when you completely eliminate it, well, first of all, some people are more sensitive to gluten than others, but everyone is sensitive to gluten to some degree. And if you cut out flours completely, you'll notice the inflammation in your body goes away. So many autoimmune problems occur because of gluten, because of the carbohydrates. I can't even express to you how many stories I've come across with people who go on ketogenic diets, carnivore diets, and they feel unbelievably better and they lose all of this weight. They don't even go to the gym. They just lose all this weight. And I'm like, what do you do? And it's like, well, you just cut out sugars and carbohydrates. And it's amazing. The body doesn't need to work as hard to process this foreign substance within the body. But also, talking about foreign substances, we have to talk about vegetable oils like canola oil, cottonseed oil, like margarines, just terrible. Anything. The only vegetable oils I would recommend would be olive oil and coconut oil. But I would just recommend, grass-fed butter, ghee, beef tallow. Cook your food in those only, because these vegetable oils were invented in 1911. And if you look at the charts of obesity, as soon as vegetable oils was introduced, obesity quickly went on the rise. And it's because the body doesn't know how to process this foreign thing. I mean, if you look into how vegetable oil is made, it's made in a factory with tons of chemicals. It's pressed and chemicals are poured in and drained out, and you're left with this foreign substance. And there's a study where they feed rats vegetable oils and they gain weight so rapidly, it's unbelievable. But when you feed people beef tallow, butter, bacon, steak, they don't gain weight. And it's like, well, what's the common denominator here? Well, it's the sugar, it's the gluten, it's the vegetable oils, it's these foreign things the body does not know how to properly process. So I recommend that you think about how your ancestors ate and try and mimic what they ate. Because a lot of what we see in supermarkets, basically the middle aisles of the supermarket, pure junk. Except for a select few of things, maybe canned fish and canned meat and mustard and maybe some healthy mayonnaise with avocado oil. Few things, but mostly it's crackers, chips, granola bars, cookies, pies, pastries, cereals. It's just junk. Avoid all that. Go to the aisles with the fruit. Go to the aisles with the cold cuts, the cheeses. Go to the aisles with the meat, the eggs. Some dairy, right? I know, like, some dairy can worsen anxiety because like myself, I am very sensitive to lactose, and if I eat dairy, I'll actually break out. So I don't have dairy, and I've noticed that I don't need it. But some people are better at it. I mean, Maggie is more tolerant to dairy, and so I recommend like full fat cheeses. It's good for you. Like, I can tolerate sheep's cheese. It's pretty good. I actually like the taste. It's very nice. But I want you to incorporate more fats, because the brain is mostly fat. And well, think about the cells within the body. It's made up of cholesterol and fats, right? Fats and proteins help make up the body and the functioning of the body. Your brain is mostly, I think, 70% fat. So feed your brain what it needs. People who start to eat more fats, they actually report that they think better, their memory improves, less brain fog. And I'm like, well, yeah, it makes sense the more you look into it. So I hope that helps. Claude, thank you. And also, I wanted to add caffeine. If you're suffering from anxiety, try and lessen the caffeine a bit, because it does make a definite impact. Even teas, for me, if I have a tea or too much tea, I'll start to get irritable, man. So those do play a big role in your anxiety. Thank you for the question. Next one comes in from M. Stanford 82. How would you treat occurring nightmares? Great question. So I recommend that you run with somebody, maybe myself, I can do this with you. Run the nightmare through your mind's eye when you're awake. So sit with yourself, close your eyes, play out the nightmare in your mind, and you'll feel the emotions. It'll be distressing, it'll be uncomfortable. That's a sign, because this is real, man. I mean, who is to say that this nightmare is not real, more real than reality? But it's real, man. And I'll tell you something. When you're in that dreamlike state, or when you're running an imagination through your mind and you're feeling the emotions, that's pretty damn real. That is real. So play out the nightmare in your mind's eye, and then I want you to solve the nightmare. So something is happening, right? You're not solving things. Maybe you're not finding somebody. Maybe you're getting into an argument. Maybe you're lost. Maybe you're looking for something. Solve the nightmare, play it out, and I want you to, maybe defeat the burglar that's playing out in your mind. How would you defeat that burglar? And then I noticed that within me, even doing this with me, I've noticed that I feel so much better and the nightmare doesn't happen. Because once you solve it, the unconscious mind doesn't need to hold on to it anymore, and then the nightmare will actually go away. So you have to solve it. You have to play it out in your mind, and then play it out, but finish the story. How are you going to solve this problem? And then that's it. And you'll notice a big difference when you do this exercise, that not only will you not have nightmares, but right after the exercise, you'll feel a lot better, like a weight has been lifted. So I think that's really important. So great question. Next one comes in from Luke. I'm in my 40s and I want to quit pornography. Is it too late? Well, Luke, it's not too late, man, because people quit things all the time, especially in their 90s. I mean, it's never too late to start something. But what's important about this, Luke, is I want you to change, because you're telling yourself a story. I can't do something. But what if you change the story to, what if I now rise above this thing that's been plaguing me for maybe 20 plus years? But and think about how great that victory will feel. But then somebody who was only addicted for 5 years, right? Think if you can rise above this mountain, how amazing that would make you feel. I mean, how would you feel? What would you look like? Have that vision in your mind's eye, because you can change. And is there no better journey to go on than something that big? Because the bigger the dragon, the more gold it's hoarding. So imagine conquering that dragon, how good you would feel. Like the mother of all dragons, the thing that's been plaguing you. You defeat that thing, man, you can defeat anything. Figure out how you can defeat it, because people overcome the most debilitating addictions. I mean, addictions are a part of you. It's a part of your identity. You have to be willing to let that part of you die off. How motivated are you to let that piece of you die off? Are you angry enough? I mean, join a community where these people overcame the problem you're contending with. What do they look like? How are they speaking? Is it worth the journey? And I'm sure you believe it's worth the journey just by asking me this question. And the more you look into the effects pornography has on the brain, just like how smoking affects your body, the more you look into it, the more motivated you will be to actually put this behind you. There's not enough pain stacked on top of this habit to make you actually motivated enough to quit. Like when people really dive into the effects of smoking and it just terrifies their soul, they quit. They don't want to do it anymore. But you have to face the reality of it. And to face that reality, look into some books pertaining to the effects pornography has on the brain and the body. So one book is Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson. Check that out. The second one is Cupid's Poisoned Arrow by Marnia Robinson. Wicked book, man. Wicked book. Recommend you check those out. And then check out YouTubers. I have a NoFap playlist below, diving into all the effects pornography has, but also my experiences, what I felt. Now that I'm clean for 5 years, it's not a clean recovery. It's always going to be rocky. But it's important that it's rocky, because when you actually relapse, it's a learning experience. What you notice within yourself is you feel disappointed, you feel shameful, you feel guilty for relapsing, but it's a sign. How do you perceive that relapse? Well, it's a learning tool. I really don't like being in this situation. I really don't like being a slave to this thing. I got to try again and start from square one again and keep going, because you don't want to give up. You're just going to increase the shame and guilt dragon within you. You're going to keep pushing it to the side and ignoring it, but it's going to plague you. It's like this David Goggins voice in the back of your head saying, you can do more. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're not going to live you're not going to be satisfied in the long run. There's always going to be that voice. So acknowledge the voice, get up and continue. It's one day at a time. And man, this is it. You need a goal in your life. This is a great goal for you, Luke. At least you have something to strive towards. You have some sort of aim. You have a mountain to climb, man. That's worth everything. Keep pursuing that. So I hope that helps. And the last question I'm going to answer is from Sportsman62. What would you say or do to someone feeling hopeless? Well, that's a great question. Man, feeling hopeless. Well, it sort of pertains to the first question, what can I do today to lessen anxiety? I recommend that if you know someone who's feeling hopeless, they need someone they can relate to. They need a story that they can relate to. They need somebody who went through the same horrible hell they're currently going through and overcame that hell. They need some sort of story. They need some sort of real life experience. So you might not be the one to provide that, but you can guide them towards my videos. I went through extreme health anxiety, agoraphobia, depersonalization. It was rough for me, and I overcame these dragons. So you have to lead them towards relatable stories. Talk with somebody. That's really important, because you need to talk to somebody who has the experience, rather than family that could be, comforting for the time being, like I said earlier, but in the long run don't supply you with the necessary strategies and structure. And that's the next thing I want to get into. They have to build a structure. They have to build a foundation, because they're floundering. They're all over the place. Everything is too much for them to grapple with. They're sensitive to the world, because the world is now perceived as a dragon. And so what do they have to do? Well, build on a structure, right? You have to have some sort of daily goals and aims, so that, they have to be attainable aims, because they're just not going to get anywhere if the bar is so damn high. You have to start from day one, week one. And so what you have to do is, I'm going to get up, I'm going to make my bed. That's going to be the goal. I can do that. I'm going to listen to a podcast that is going to help me build on this structure. You need to learn about your anxiety or your depression, or you need to learn more about yourself. And I did that through podcasts and having a mentor available online for me to talk to. And that is so massive. And this is your journey, right? It's a battle against you. And don't compare yourself to other people who are successful, money. They're going through their own challenges, believe it or not. And Instagram and Facebook, you're only seeing these really small snapshots of happiness in people's lives. That's a really important thing too. And they might not even be happiness. They could just pretend to be happy just for that moment and then go back to their mediocre, but also maybe really hard lives, but it doesn't matter because it's just your battle today. It's your battle. You need a structure. You need some sort of discipline. You need to see yourself progressing in some way, and you need to log the wins. That's why a coach is helpful, because you can come to me and say, hey, this is what's bad during the week, and then I could reframe that and say, hey, what's good? What are the wins this week? What were you able to do? Well, I was able to walk around the block that one time, or I was able to clean this one little spot in my room, or I was able to listen to this podcast and then I learned something. It's like, these are great wins, man, because you didn't do those before and now you're doing them, right? It takes a lot of time, because anxiety in hopelessness, it becomes this repetitive frame. And to break out of this frame, you have to start to rewire these pathways, and it takes time to chip away at them, because it's not overnight. It's a long process, but it's worth it, because you need to establish an aim. You need to go over what your life would be like a year from now if you recovered. What would that look like? Do you have somebody that you're relating to that is inspiring you? Or are you hanging around friends that are supporting your weaknesses, that are depressed also, that are hopeless also? That's worth examining and thinking about. And that's where I'm going to leave you today on this Q&A episode. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let me know what you think. Any more questions? Leave them below, because I'm going to do this more often. And lastly, rise above anxiety. I'll see you next time. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this community. Please comment below. Also, give this a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, because then you'll be the first to know whenever I release a new video.